an open heart, we want to get to know you better. Please give a warm welcome to our guest. This is Open Heart. When you guys want to watch a movie, what do you think of? Like, is it the actors that you watch, or is it like the storyline, maybe your favorite director? Sometimes people search out reviews from critics as well. And speaking of, we have a K-media critic joining us today. Please welcome Jason in the studio.
Hello. Hello, it's great to be here.
Hello. I mean, you've been here before, so...
I have, yes. Yeah. I've been on a few shows over the years in here at ARIRANG Radio and television downstairs, so yeah.
Right, so nothing's too crazy new. Yeah.
No, it's all quite familiar. It's very comfortable to be back.
Right. I did mention you're a K-media critic because that's what I saw on your Instagram bio. But
okay.
Yeah, would you like to introduce yourself properly once again?
Sure. So my name is Jason Bechervais. I'm originally from the United Kingdom, so from the UK. That's where I grew up, and I studied there, and I was studying Korean movies and deciding what to do. So my wife suggested I came to Korea to do a PhD. So in 2010 I came here and studied Korean, and then did my PhD at Hanyang University, which is where I wrote my dissertation on the work of Bong Joon-ho. And whilst doing my PhD, I worked as a critic, so writing for and contributing to various publications on the growth of the industry, and because Parasite went on to win Best Picture at the Oscars, and Squid Game became this huge hit globally. I've been quite busy kind of trying to dissect that, and so I've been teaching students here in Korea as well, teaching students about Korean content, so streaming platforms, films. And this semester I started a new job actually. So I'm an assistant professor at Hanyang University. So I'm a jack of all trades.
Oh, okay. So our our listeners are saying hello.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Welcome.
Good afternoon from Seoul.
Yes, and also somebody was like, "Oh, another British tea time." Fellow
tea time. I had tea this morning.
Really?
Yeah,
How
I did.
British of you.
It's a daily ritual.
Right, of course.
As soon as I wake up, I basically put the kettle on, as they say in England,
right,
and make a pot of tea. And so that's what I do to wake me up in the morning.
And do you put milk in your tea?
I do, yes. Not a lot, a little bit.
Okay.
And so, I'm quintessentially British in that way.
British, yes. Geek Diggy says, in order to be a guest on Arirang, you have to have an accent. That's because we had another guest like 2 days ago from the UK. Again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
there's quite a few Brits here now.
Yeah, I was making a big fuss about it because our listeners know I love London. And listeners, we were talking about that during the song break. I was like, yeah, I was in London. But yes, I'm very happy to be doing another English listening test, like English listening test. And I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned you were from Hanyang University. This is just a personal question. I heard you guys have really good food there at the cafeteria.
In the cafeteria?
Is it true?
Well, I've eaten once in the cafeteria this semester. I'm trying to venture out into Wangshinli, which is the area around the campus, which actually is now very expensive.
Oh.
It's okay. Yeah, it's good. It's good food. It was very good, and it's very good value for money. And some of my students were on my first. I think the first week, some of the students were kind of really happy about some of the katsu, and so it is good for food, and there are various different cafeterias, so maybe I should go around and check them all and report back.
Report back to us, please. We did mention you were in Busan recently for the International Film Festival. How long were you there for?
I was there for a whole week this year. Normally I don't go down for so long, but because of the holidays and my schedule, it just made it possible so I could be down there for the whole week. So it was a really interesting experience. So it was the 29th edition this year.
Okay.
So it celebrates its 30th edition next year. So I'll be very keen to see what happens there. And so I recently wrote an essay on it, and I argued in it that I felt that Busan Film Festival turned a corner because there was a lot of controversy last year, and I think I stand by that actually, because this year feels more of a bit of an interim, because I mean it was a very successful edition, lots of good films there, but they're still without a director, and they're celebrating their 30th edition next year. So I think they're kind of laying the seeds for that, and so yes, very successful. I'm very happy with how it went. And they were screening over 300 films. I saw, do you know how many films I normally see at a festival? I saw 10 films. 10? Yeah, 10 films. So I was very productive, you know. So as one of my friends said, if you're seeing double digits during a festival, then you know you're doing really well, because during a festival, you're meeting people, you're kind of socializing. It's where the whole industry congregates. And so sometimes it's quite difficult actually to watch films. But the fact that I watched 10, you know, 10 was commendable, I think.
So productive.
So yeah, I'm very chuffed about that.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about which films you actually watched and like more in depth about them. First, I want to continue on this Busan talk. So like tell us what the overall like atmosphere was like, please. Like was everybody like happy, excited, more serious, or because as someone who hasn't been to a film festival, I'm always like curious, is it like festival like?
Yeah, no, it was, in fact, it was really hard to get tickets, even for me, as I had a badge, but it was a nightmare. And I read that, attendance was up this year, to levels, you know, seen before the pandemic. So, the atmosphere was very jubilant, and although I didn't manage to make it to many screenings, I often went to the video library. But I think there was a lot of people down there who were really kind of hungry for cinema, which is what festivals are great for, you know, exploring some, discovering new talent, and learning more about cinema. So a lot of people watching films like first thing in the morning, and then throughout the day, and then the evening, and then the evening often there's a lot of social events as well. So the industry is kind of congregating, discussing, you know, the latest trends. And I went to a few different events. I went to a CJ forum, which CJ is the big studio here in Korea, CJ E&M. And so they talked about their kind of their strategies like going forward, and actually they were really pessimistic. Okay. Because the industry is in a bit of a, I mean, they use the word crisis all the time, and they're always cinema's always in this kind of existential crisis. But production costs, they were saying, have doubled since the pandemic. And meanwhile, advertising revenue has dropped. So it's becoming more expensive to make films. So they're making fewer films these days. Yeah. But I think overall, though, you know, even though I've been following the industry for years, and there are always issues, and the Korean film industry is very resilient, and it's not unique to Korea either. There are challenges in the theatrical market globally and streaming, and I think there's a sense that the streaming bubble has burst, or is bursting. So I think we'll see less content over the next maybe couple of years, because there's just too much right now.
Yeah. Guys, go to your cinemas. Go watch your movies.
Yes, please. Go and watch films in the big screen.
Yes. I mean, don't wait for the OTT streaming platforms to buy them. Just go and watch it with good sound, with the big screen. I'm trying to watch as much movies as I can, and you guys should be doing that too. And you mentioned that you watched 10 movies. Can you, off of the top of your head, just name all 10?
You know what? I'm actually looking through my phone, and so I'm going to actually reel them all off. Okay, so there are two films that I think really stood out for me. There was Kiki Will Hit a Home Run, which is about a couple who are really struggling financially. That was one of my favorite films of the festival. It's kind of, in a way, it deals with like kind of social issues like the capitalism and how, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer.
Right.
But I quite like the tone of the film. So there was that one, the final semester, which won quite a few awards, actually. This film.
Wait, these aren't Korean, right?
These are Korean films.
Oh, these are all Korean films.
These are Korean.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I should mention that when I go to Busan, I go on a discovery expedition. What I mean by that is I'm looking for new films, new talent. So I tend to focus on independent films because that's where, you find all the discoveries.
Right, okay.
And there was this film called The Final Semester. And so, it follows, this student who, he's trying, he's having to go to this workplace to kind of begin an internship. And so there, you see him try to kind of enter the workplace, enter society. And so some of the struggles and, difficulties that brings.
Right.
And so, I quite like that as well. And there was a film called Land of the Morning Calm, which is in New Currents, which I quite liked. Set kind of in rural Korea following a fisherman and and who basically kind of disappears.
Okay, a fisherman disappears.
Well, actually, it's a fisherman. It's a bit complicated, but it's a fisherman, and he knows this kind of guy, and this guy is married to this woman from Vietnam, and he suddenly disappears because he wants to make it. Basically, it's a bit of an insurance scam.
Oh, okay.
But it deals with multiculturalism, which I quite enjoyed. You don't see that so much in Korean cinema these days, and that's an issue that I hold quite close to my heart. And so I really enjoyed looking at that and watching that. And it was quite funny in a way. They find that it was kind of dealing, on the one hand, quite dealing with difficult issues, but doing it in a quite refreshing way. There was the opening film, Uprising. Speaking of Uprising, it drops on Netflix today.
Oh,
yeah.
Uprising.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a new film starring Kang Dong-won. So maybe our audiences will be more familiar with that. You're busy looking these up online.
Park Jung-min.
As a Park Jung-min,
I was so looking forward to this. I'm a fan of Park Jung-min.
Cool.
I've been following their interviews and their premieres they've been doing recently. Yes, it's called Jeonlan in Korean.
Jeonlan, yes. The premiere was in Seoul last night. The Seoul premiere. But
right.
it was. It's basically a period film. It follows these two guys played by Kang Dong-won and Park Jung-min. And basically, Kang Dong-won he's a slave.
Yeah.
And so it deals with I guess it's a recurring theme in Korean content. So themes of social class.
Right.
You see that in the films of Bong Joon-ho, for example. He has this friendship with this boy or this guy from this very kind of rich family.
Yes.
The family he's working for.
Yes.
And then something happens to the guy's son and wife. And so he ends up blaming the Kang Dong-won character for it. So it's kind of dealing with revenge, which is a recurring theme in some Korean films.
Yeah.
But it's set in, I think, the 16th century, if my memory serves me correctly.
Right.
So it's dealing with some history and Japan invading Korea.
Right.
And there's a lot of these fight sequences. It's very violent.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but visually, the scenes are spectacular.
Right.
I wish I'd seen it on a big screen. Visually very impressive. It's co-written by Park Chang-wook, a very famous film director. Decision to Leave, Old Boy, The Handmaiden.
Right.
But what I liked about it is that a lot of period. Have you seen many period films?
I wouldn't say many.
Or dramas?
Not many. A few. The famous ones. I watched Kingdom.
Okay, yeah. Kingdom... Kingdom does deal with palace intrigue. So kind of these power struggles within, the palace. And this film doesn't do that.
Oh, okay.
No, it kind of focuses on the relationship with these two guys. So kind of a bromance, which often you see in Korean films.
Right.
But yeah, very much kind of dealing with social class, which actually, and the slave trade, which was slavery, which was an issue. It's not really being discussed in Korean content,
right?
Very much. So I think that's something that's commendable.
Yeah, it's actually funny because if you're like watching their interviews like recently, like Park Jung-min says stuff like, "You guys won't believe it, but Kang Do-won is my slave. I know he doesn't have the slave look, but he is a slave." And people are like, "But he's so like he's always played many roles as like a more princey, like good-looking, like higher class.
He's still very
role.
handsome in the movie, though.
Oh, even okay. So the role doesn't matter. He's just a handsome guy.
He is. Yeah,
he's got the aura.
He's a Hanyang University graduate.
He is.
Yeah, he studied
really?
mechanical engineering.
Oh.
So there you go.
Okay, yeah. So if anybody checks out Uprising.
So Uprising drops, our viewers can actually watch this film, which is great, right? Because a lot of the films I mentioned, it'll be quite hard for them to certainly access them right now. But with this Netflix title, they can watch them. Watch it rather later on today. I think it probably drops around about 5 o'clock.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think if you guys do watch it. Did we talk about around like 5 films already? 5, 6?
Yeah, so let me look at my list and see what else we've got.
Continue on.
Yeah, I liked a documentary called Save the Game.
Save the Game.
Which I teach a lot of classes on Korean content and the Korean kind of content industry, and focusing on films, dramas, and K-pop. And gaming actually is a big part of the industry. In fact, it's one of the biggest parts of the culture industry.
Right.
And it's not something I'm particularly an expert on. But I was watching this documentary and it was just really informative, talking about the rise of the industry beginning in the 1990s and the importance of these universities like Seoul University, KAIST, and others. And I hadn't realized that the reason gaming took off on PCs was because they didn't have game consoles in Korea because of the ban on Japanese content. So
really?
Yeah. So I didn't know that.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like, it makes, because that was lifted during the late 1990s.
Right.
But that's...
Wow, that makes so much sense. Ooh.
So there you go. So that's something that I learned from the documentary.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was really, really happy about that.
Okay.
That I understood that.
So you watched many genres. You watched something like 사극. You watched a documentary.
Yeah, so sageuk, which is period. I watched the documentary. I watched kind of these realist dramas, and But you know what? I want to mention a film that I didn't see in Busan, but I saw yesterday on the big screen. It's called Love in the Big City.
Oh my gosh, Love in the Big City.
It's amazing. It's one of the best Korean films I've seen in a long time, and I'm raving about it.
It's doing so well. It's starring Do Sang-yeon, Steve Sang-yeon-no, and Kim Go-eun.
The both are just delightful, and enchanting. And I had such a good time in the cinema yesterday. I was in the screen with one other person. So I think it's a really important film as well.
Yeah, not to spoil it too much, but it's actually based on a novel with the same name, Love in the Big City, written by writer Park Sang-young. And this novel did great in Korea. It was translated into English as well. It has a very pretty book cover. You guys should search it up later. And it's actually been made into a film, which we just talked about. It's released. And on the 21st of October, they actually have a show adaptation as well, drama adaptation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do. And it's starring...
Okay, I didn't know that.
Nam Yoon-soo, he is another actor, and he is actually playing Steve Sang-yeon-no's role, and he's like a younger actor.
Yeah, there's a lot of this like transmedia going on where you've got like Yumi Cells is a good example of that, which is it's based on a webtoon. Then you have the drama, and there's also an animation. This film is just truly wonderful.
Right.
It's so enchanting, and Kim Go-eun as just... I think she's one of the best actresses in Korea right now.
Yeah, I mean, she's thriving. All her works are doing so well. And you guys might even... So basically, Kim Go-eun is from Goblin, like, if you guys don't know her. If you guys don't know Steve Sang-no, he was from Pachinko.
Pachinko, yeah.
Which is another great film you guys should check out. Also based on a novel. So many films nowadays are based on novels and like webtoons and...
Well, IP, intellectual property, is the buzzword in the industry. So everyone's trying to secure rights to this. And the thing about webtoons is that you have these portal sites who essentially have a team of writers. They put together these webtoons, and then the ones that take off, then they seek to make them into... They've got production companies, and they seek to make them into dramas and films. So there's a lot of content these days that's based on webtoons especially, but also novels.
Yeah, and since they already have like ongoing fans, I feel like fans are always like curious to see film or drama adaptations. So you watched Love in the Big City and like you liked it. It's one of your...
A lot. Yeah, I'm going to give it 5 stars out of 5.
Really?
I don't do that very often, but it's just such an important film.
Coming from a movie critic, 5 out of 5 stars.
It's amazing. I just loved it. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Guys, go check it out. If you were to like recommend it to like what kind of viewers would enjoy Love in the Big City, do you think?
Those who are searching for, I guess, a romantic film, but it's not your typical romantic film because it follows this pair. They live together. But the Kim Go-eun character, they essentially become friends, right? And the male character is gay, so and that's revealed very early on in the film. And so you see how he's coming, how he struggles, with a society that still has issues with regards to his sexuality. So there's that, and then you have the Kim Go-eun character who she's struggling in relationships as well,
right?
And you see them form a friendship, and it's just so beautiful. Like it's so heartwarming. Like if you want to watch a film that just makes you feel better about life, even in this like world that's so dark and like can be for many people, because there are so many conflicts in this world and difficulties that society's face, issues that society's facing. But it's just a beautiful film, and there's this scene at the end that I just absolutely adore. I'm not going to say you where it is because it will spoil it.
But we will know. We will know.
You'll know if you watch the film. It just got me jumping out of my seat pretty much. So watch it.
Go watch it, guys. Go watch it. I'm going to be personally watching the drama version as well. So I will...
Same again.
Yeah, we'll let you know how that goes. We were just talking about some like movies like I like, and Jason asked me, what's your favorite film, Korean film? And I was like, I Saw the Devil.
That movie was actually... it got an X rating in Korea. Did you know that?
Yes. I mean, obviously.
Well, because it couldn't screen in its entirety because of its violence. And so they had to edit it. So the first time I watched it was going back to the Busan Film Festival. This was, I think, in 2010. The first time I watched it was actually there, and they could screen that in its entirety because it was a festival screening. So it doesn't matter that it was had a rated X.
Right.
It's pretty gruesome. It's a very violent film, but it's amazing.
It's amazing. I think I watched the unedited version too because I watched it on a platform later, like streaming platform. It wasn't in theaters. Yeah. And it's interesting. You guys, like, our listeners know my taste, but Jason was like, that's not what I expected you to say.
You need a strong stomach. It follows a serial killer. So, it's very violent, but the storytelling is incredible. And, it's visually...
Yes.
Very, very strong.
Yes. Check it out if you're interested, guys, but check out the trigger warnings before you do. We want to talk about you more in depth than like the movies from Busan. So in 2003, that's when you first like watched a Korean film, like when you were in London.
Yeah, so basically my wife introduced me to Korean films. So I started watching some Korean movies. We initially went into like a DVD store. So this is when DVDs were popular. They no longer are. So I picked up a couple of copies. I watched The Way Home, and I watched Chiburo and Public Enemy, Gongongo Ichok. And yeah, I really enjoyed those films, but the kind of the turning point for me was in a cinema in Haymarket in the West End of London. So this is, if you think Trafalgar Square, which is a very famous place in London, Shaftesbury Avenue. So a cinema very close to there. And so there I watched Memories of Murder, Saline Chuok. It's directed by Bong Joon-ho. Released in Korea in 2003. I watched it in a cinema, I think it was released in August 2004. And I was so blown away by it. I just sat there in this theatre. And as the credits rolled, I just thought this is an extraordinary piece of work. You know, this is a movie that's based on a true story when a serial killer preyed on women in the 1980s and early 1990s. And it deals with Korean history in the 1980s as well. And so what I liked about it was that it was very accessible to me, even though I didn't know much about Korean history at the time. But as I learned more, I would understand even more that how what kind of masterpiece this film is. And I went to see it 4 times in the cinema because I was just
4 times.
Yeah. So I just was just truly blown away by it. So I went to see it 3 more times. So yeah, it was just incredible. So that led me to starting a website on Korean films because there wasn't much information about Korean movies at the time. And then that was the same year as films like A Tale of Two Sisters. I mean, you mentioned that in the break, the music by Lee Byung-woo. So so Tale of Two Sisters, Save the Green Planet, Old Boy, and it was just such a great year for Korean films. And so I just basically became a bit obsessed when it came to Korean movies, and I started this website. I started working at a festival, and I was very fortunate, with timing and everything. So there was a festival that took place in London, and I managed to persuade this magazine in London to basically advertise it for free. And 1,000 people turned up to the screening, and the website crashed and all the rest of it. So and that was a really special moment for me, just seeing that happen. So and then I wrote about Korean films for my dissertations, and then I was like 2009, in a London pub with my wife. I was like, what do I do now?
What are you going to do now?
I just like Korean movies. I can't really do much in London.
What next?
And so she's like, well, let's go back to Korea. I say back, for her is to come back, but for me it was to live and for the first time. And so that's when I started learning Korean, and the rest is history. There you go.
Right. Like you mentioned the intro, all your like Hanyangdae stories and like what you've been doing since then. Yeah. I mean, 1 hour is just so short for us to talk about all the great films in Korea. But we have one last question for you. Is there any movies you are anticipating that are going to be released soon, Korean films?
You're putting me on the spot today. I like it. I think the film I've heard quite a bit about is Harbin. Which this is a movie directed by Woo Min-ho. He made films such as Inside Men or Nebuchadnezzar, The Drug King,
and Drug King.
And various others. And so I'm very curious to see what he does with this film, because this follows the independence fighter An Jung-gun, played by Hyun-bin. Now there's a film called Hero or Young-un, which is a musical directed by Yoon Jae-gyun. And I was lucky to see the stage musical in Gwanghwamun in Seoul this summer.
I watched it too.
And it's just incredible. I went to musicals in London all the time, and I was like, I went in thinking, it can't be as good as these London West End musicals. And you know what? It was as good, if not even better. And so I'm curious about Harbin, which is not a musical. It's an action film, I think, action/drama, and so it follows his story. So it refers to the location where he carried out an assassination, which led to his death. And So yeah, it was screened at the Toronto Film Festival.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the reaction there was strong. And I heard from within the industry that it's a good film. So that film was being released at the end of the year.
Okay,
so
okay.
that's the title I'm kind of most looking forward to.
And a little, like, not spoiler, but I read the novel they based it on.
Yeah, you're very well read.
Yes, thank you. By the author Kim Hoon, which is another legendary Korean author. And I loved the book despite me being kind of like naive about history comparably to other adults my age, because obviously I'm from Canada, but I'm sure we'll all enjoy it. So yeah, guys.
Yeah, I'm very keen.
Yeah.
The director can be a bit hit and miss, but when he he hits. When he hits it well, he hits it well.
Right.
And like with Inside Men. So I'm very keen to see how well he does here.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us for the show today on our first episode of Open Heart. We really want to have you back so that we can talk about more films. There's so many things I want to talk about as well.
I've learned a lot from you today, so that's
thank
great.
You. Yes. Please come back on Art Attack very, very soon. We're going to say bye to Jason with this song for you by Ihai featuring Crush, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, bye-bye, everyone.